We're so looking forward to greetings at this time coming from our chairperson, the John Robert Lewis Leadership Conference Committee, Mr. Luke Jones. And then we will have from the John Robert Lewis Legacy Institute, Mr. Jared Lewis, the Honorable Mayor Jason Reed from the City of Troy, and he's known only by one name from the Troy University system, Sohiel, in that order.
Good evening. To the already established protocol, on behalf of the John Robert Lewis Leadership Conference Committee, I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you for coming out with us tonight. And we're also looking forward to coming with us on tomorrow. As mentioned earlier by Ms. Pearson, this is our 22nd conference, and we wouldn't have had it any other way if you would not be here. So thank you again for being here.
Good evening. It's an honor to welcome you to the John R. Lewis Leadership Conference, a gathering not just for minds, but of hearts committed to the work of justice, service, and above all, leadership. Leadership, as my uncle, the late Congressman John Lewis, he embodied it. It was never about titles or positions. It was about conviction. It was about courage. It was about stepping forward when others stood still and speaking up when silence was easier. He believed that true leadership requires us to be both dreamers and doers, to imagine a better world and then roll up our sleeves and build it. Today, as we come together in his name, let us not just remember his legacy, but renew our commitment to leading with purpose, with principle, and with a relentless determination to leave good trouble in the pursuit of justice. Welcome to the John Robert Lewis Leadership Conference. Now let's get to work. Thank you.
Good evening. I have been at most of these for the last 22 years. I hope you'll forgive maybe a little weakness in my voice. Most of you that have known me all of my life know that I don't wear a beard, but I had some surgery. Miss Lewis is laughing. She knows. So it's this has not been one of the easier Friday nights of the conference for me to get to, but I can promise you I would have crawled here to get here tonight. And I want to tell you why. One thing for all of the reasons that we're all here tonight. And I appreciate the platform committee, the Lewis family. I bring you greetings on behalf of the city of Troy, council members Moultrie and Sharon McSwain Holland are here. This means a lot to us, and the committee does a lot of work every year. If you look back through, if you take time to look through your program, you will see icons of our country. You'll see entertainment leaders. You will see members of Congress. You will see names like Lewis and King and Abernathy. And it's been remarkable to be part of this program for all these years. Tonight is very special to me because our keynote tonight, and I won't say a whole lot because I know someone else will introduce him, but for parts of the last 5 decades, I have known Dr. Keith Elder. He was the president of my senior high school class. He was my friend, is my friend. He is a gentleman and a scholar. He is all the things that leadership embodies. And when we were able to work it out for him to be here, as I said, I would have crawled to make it. And I'm so glad to be here tonight. I have a couple of things that I would like to give Dr. Elder while I'm up here, if he doesn't mind. Keith, one of these is from the community, and it is, I'll read it. This says, welcome home, Dr. Keith Elder, keynote speaker, John Robert Lewis Leadership Conference. Thank you for your 20-year commitment to inspiring student success in higher education, and it's from me and the Troy City Council. Yes, sir. These are some goodies from the city as well. And then, as I said, Keith was our class president. He truly was the best of us and is the best of us. And I'd like to read this. In appreciation to Dr. Keith Elder for your dedication and leadership, presented by Charles Henderson High School class of 1990, Troy, Alabama, January 31st, 2005. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37:23. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being here this weekend. You will always leave here better than you came. Thank you for making the effort.
Thank you, and welcome to Troy University today. Ms. Pearson, I love that. I love that new single name I have. I feel like Prince or Madonna, right? Luke Jones, Sheila Jackson, the committee, thank you for doing what you have done to make this event happen and bring all of us together. Leadership unites everybody, and this is a great opportunity to unite together and learn. The city has worked together with the university. We are one people, we are one family. We are very grateful to Congressman Lewis. He has been recognized in two ways on this campus. This event has been named after him, and we're very thankful to the family for allowing us to do that. But also back in 2020, we got John Robert Lewis Hall on campus. And believe it or not, I've been fortunate enough in my 36 years at Troy to meet Congressman Lewis several times, and he even spoke at my daughter's baccalaureate. So it goes a long way. Back in 1957, Troy State Teachers College denied admission to Congressman Lewis. 30 years later, we were very fortunate, and we were really grateful that he was gracious enough to accept the honorary doctorate he received from us. So that is very important. Back in 57, we had no African-American students on campus. We had nobody who looked like me on campus. But today, we are one of Alabama's most diverse campuses. We've come a long way, folks. Congressman Lewis believed in leadership with integrity. May his legacy impact everybody here today, and may it brighten or show the path to all the students we have on campus. Thank you, and Dr. Elder, welcome home.
Thank you to all of those who brought greetings, but we are not done yet. I know that Mayor Reeves mentioned Councilwomen Moultrie and Holland, but do we have any other political community leaders here with us tonight? If so, would you stand? And I would like to ask the two of you to stand. Don't look at me, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Also, we would like to recognize the men and women of the clergy. Do we have any in the audience tonight? If so, please stand. Amen. Thank you so much. Members of the Lewis family, are you here tonight? Please stand. Thank you so much for letting us share with you. Dr. Elder, we know you're going to ask and talk about your family, but we would like those in your family to please stand as well. Dr. Elder's family members, please stand. Oh my goodness. Members of the Charles Henderson High School class of 1990, are you here? Thank you. Last but certainly not least, you may not want to stand, but at least raise your hand. Those of you who have worked so tirelessly on this committee, would you please raise your hand or stand? The committee members, please. Thank you so very much. Now, at this time, we're going to ask Mr. Quavian Lewis to come and introduce our fantastic speaker for this evening. I look so forward to it. Please come.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Integrity, resiliency, and diligence are a few words I would use to describe the speaker. Dr. Keith Tracy Elder is the youngest of 7 to a single mother, the late Miss Elder Pugh, and 17 to his father, Mr. Richard Bud Owens. He was born on Railroad Avenue and raised in Knott Street housing projects as well as West End of Troy. A National Guard member fresh out of high school, going on to graduate from UAB with a bachelor's in public health and master's in public administration. Followed by doctoral training completed at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County as a recipient of the National Institutes of Health Minority Pre-Doctoral Fellowship, where he earned a Doctor of Philosophy degree in health policy. His professional career began as a professor in the Department of Health Services Administration in the School of Health Professions at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. He was faculty for the Department of Health Services Policy and Management at the University of South Carolina's Arnold School of Public Health, then chair for the Department of Health Management and Policy and College for Public Health and Social Justice at St. Louis University. Dr. Elder is currently the 22nd president of Saint Xavier University, followed being provost and executive vice president at Mississippi College, and prior to being the founding dean and professor of the School of Public Health at Stanford University. Known for his research, Elder focused on providing evidence to inform health policy, healthcare delivery, and processes. He also served as an investigator on funded projects by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Alzheimer's Association, National Institutes of Health, Health Resource and Service Administration, the Centers for Disease Control, and the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. Dr. Elder serves on the editorial board on leading journals including the American Journal of Public Health and the Journal of Health Administrative Education. Faith is very important to him, and he is a member of the Incarnate Word Foundation Board of Trustees, the St. Louis City Board of Hospitals and Health. He is the founder of the Men's Bible Study at Birmingham's historic 6th Avenue Baptist Church. His most proud titles, I would believe, are the father of Owen and Hannah, and also the husband to Dr. Keisha Sims Elder, who is the 5th Dean of the College of Optometry at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. I am honored to welcome Dr. Elder as the speaker for the John Lewis Leadership Conference tonight, and even more proud to call him my uncle. He has inspired me so much in my academic pursuits and professional career, as well as being the man I am today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Keith Elder back home and to Troy University.
All right, I set up my dresser this morning and opened the bottom drawer to try to find a mask to wear that I hadn't worn the day before. Would I be a tempter or should I be a clown? Should I put on a face that smiles? Am I in the mood for a frown? So I sifted through each individual one, unable to decide. So which mask should I wear today? which one suits me best. Since I can't decide on one, I guess I'll just wear blessed. Evangeline King. It is so good to be here, so good to be home. As older I get, the more appreciation I have for Troy, the community, and it's just my foundation. It's really good to see family here, classmates, the mayor who is a classmate as well. It's just good to see everybody in such a positive arena. You know, when I got the call in the summer, my sister said, you know, Sheila Faison wants to talk to you. I was like, you know, why would one of the best vocalists in the country, want to talk to me? I was certain it wasn't for a duet. So when she called and extended the invitation, it was really flattering because I hadn't spoken publicly in Troy since graduation in Sartain Hall in 1990. So it's been a long time since I've been in Troy to speak publicly, and I was really pleased to get the invitation. But as I walked across the campus, I was also amazed by how much Troy University has changed. It's a beautiful campus. The number of degree offerings here, the local, state, regional, and international impact is exemplary, and Chancellor Hawkins should be commended. But also, it seems like every time I come back to Troy, something new is here, which is great. New stores, new developments. And my classmate, Jason, and City Council should be commended, and the citizens, because there's a lot of positive things happening in Troy. I know there's still a long way to go, but a lot of positive things are happening in Troy. So this space, labor and leadership, or leading with purpose, et cetera, leadership is really personal. So what I'm going to say tonight is from my perspective, so it's not generalizable if you're a statistician. It's not generalizable. It's just my lane of life. And when I think so much about leadership, I think the first thing I know, particularly being in academia, is that leadership is often limited, and serving is limited. What I mean by that, we don't invite everyone to lead. We try to find ways to disqualify leaders and those who really want to serve. We do it in a number of ways. We do it, you don't have a degree or you have a degree. What major is not the right major. Which university is not the right university. By gender, by race, ethnicity. So it's limiting. In every bit of research that I've worked on, because we're seeking people who were familiar or like previous leaders, all the research projects that I've ever worked on, we never assemble a team of researchers, be it to work on men's health, health disparities, or chronic disease management. We never assemble a team that looks like us. We don't duplicate ourselves because that team in itself is not covering its weaknesses. One of the great things about putting together a team that is varied in experiences, knowledge, it strengthens the team. Diversity is absolutely needed. It's a source of excellence. Many will tell you, the literature is pretty clear, that without diversity it's impossible to achieve excellence. So we put together these teams that are intentionally diverse. And I think the other thing about disqualifying with leadership is that we use this term, a standalone term, that is really unfair. We typically use the term smart, and smart can never be a standalone adjective, particularly when you talk about leadership, because it limits. Being smart says nothing about how well you serve, how well you work with others, and how well you're there for others. Being smart typically is a default term. When we don't know much about a person, we'll say he or she is smart. And so when I think about leadership, because we have such an abundance of information available to us now, we're consuming a lot of information. A lot of it is not good, but we have a lot of information available to us. And I know in order not to be tossed to and fro, again, leadership is personal. I know I am led by a core group of things that I have with me, so I don't oscillate in life. And that core was given to me by my parents. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the youngest of my dad, 17, Richard Owens. A lot of them know him by Bud, but some may disagree with that number. It may be more than 17, but we know 17. And I'm the youngest of my mother, Ethel Lee, 7. And my dad died when I was in 6th grade, so I didn't know a great deal about him, because back then, parents were parents and kids were kids. It was no overlap. It was like, I'm not going to have a deep conversation with my father. That's just not what we did back then. But my father sewed and made this magical elixir. Now, that's not the sum total of his life, but he made and sold this magical elixir that people came in one way and they left another, which is interesting. But the core thing from that is they came to his house for this magical elixir because they knew his product and they knew what kind of interactions they were going to receive from him. They knew consistently what they were going to receive from him. So I take that same approach when I'm thinking about serving. What do people consistently know me and expect from me? Now, the people who serve with him, they'll probably say he doesn't talk a lot, he likes data, and he really likes short meetings. You're not going to offend him if the meetings are short. So when I first went to St. Louis University, which is a Jesuit institution, it was a Research One institution at the time, and I became chair of that department. It was the 7th-ranked program in the country. And when I first started there, I was a faculty member, then I became chair of the department about a year and a half in. And my colleagues were saying, you know, you got to come in, you got to set these people straight, you got to put your foot down. And I was saying, they want me to be my Sister Teresa. You know, okay, you know, I never knew when she put her hands in the air, if that means heaven and earth is agreeing with what she just stated, but it's different. That doesn't work for me. It works for her. It simply doesn't work for me. It's not that one is better or worse. It's just my core is different. So what I mean by that is when you have to manage others' expectations and emotions and social expectations and they're incongruent with your own, sociologists tell you that is what is deemed emotional labor. It's taxing to be something you're not. And people know it. They know it as well. So that just doesn't work for me. So that core thing with me, being consistent, being true to who I am, because folks can accept consistency even if it's bad consistency. So that's the first core. The other core is from my mother. My mother would always say, since elementary school, she'd say the same thing. Be careful how you treat people, because the same people you see on your way up, you're going to see on your way down. And at the time, I didn't understand that. I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. You know, you want to treat people well. But that application on a daily basis is a little different. You know, I take that as more the veil of ignorance. You know, I think ethics is still a core for most students. But the veil of ignorance simply says that you want to view things, if you want to make society better and fair, you view things behind a level of ignorance because you don't know where you're going to be in the future. So you want to make policies and programs that don't disadvantage anyone because you might need those same policies and programs in the future yourself. And so that's the approach that I take on a daily basis. I want to make certain I'm making decisions that are benefiting everyone, even if folks don't agree with me. I want to make certain that I'm creating policies and programs on our campus that benefits all. So be careful of how you treat people. The second what I learned from my mother is, another core is that you can't delegate the hard stuff. You know, when I was in 2nd grade at Cherry Street, Laura Montgomery Elementary, because what is College View, you know, for those who went to College View, but because we had just moved from Oakland Heights, I was there the first year from Knox Street to West End, and I was in 2nd grade at the time and struggling with spelling. I must have been, I don't know if I was failing, but anyway, the grade that I was getting wasn't acceptable because back then the teachers would write a note on your on the test, and your parents have to sign it and say, you know, that they're aware of it and that they're going to work with you to make it better. Well, anyway, from when I got the note that day, apparently I didn't bring it back signed, because back then when you didn't bring back the note signed, you had to stand by the gate in recess while everybody else played. So the next day, well, that following afternoon, I got the note, took it home to my mother. My mother was a custodian at College View, you know, a janitor, worked a lot of jobs, always tired, but so I present her the note. Now, she could have simply delegated that to one of my sisters. No, you help him with the spelling, but the note was written to her, and she knew she was going to have to respond to the teacher if it didn't improve. So we sat on the sofa. I can remember it like it was yesterday. We sat on the sofa, and first thing she said, I don't have time for any foolishness. So I knew what that meant. But we sat there, and she went through the words with me, and I got through the first 9 really easily. But one word, party, I just could not get that word. I've talked about that before. I struggled with that. I would get the first 3 letters right, P-A-R, and then I would try to sound it out, partay. My sister Greta would mock me for years for that. I mean, it's just an easy word I just couldn't get. Now, the interesting thing about it, my mother could have crushed my spirit, but she didn't. She could have said, you'll never get it, you'll never know it. But she knew it was in me, and she knew it was her responsibility to bring it out. And that's what I try to do on a daily basis with people. I don't shy away from the significant things or the challenging things. When we have to tell a student, no, it's not working for you, or a faculty member, your contract won't be extended, I do it personally. And the other part is people can take bad news if you don't humiliate them in the process. And the other thing that I've learned is that, I work with a lot of undergraduate, graduate professional students and colleagues who folks just say simply could not do it. They don't need to be here, et cetera. Now, working with them, all of them didn't make it, but the overwhelming majority did because someone stayed the course with them and believed in them. And again, that's another core with me. Now, the other core that is really important is my mother would always say, you need to be thankful for what you have. And I figured that out in a sense. It wasn't a thankfulness that someone has it worse, because what benefit is that to me if somebody is enduring something worse than me? That's not the essence. It was the essence of that you're still alive, and if you stay the course, you can turn it around. It might turn around, and that's what I tell people on a daily basis when I'm serving, is that stay the course, stay persistent, stay resilient. It can turn around as quickly as it went the other direction. And the last thing I learned from my mother, the core from my mother, is, my mother would say this, and it rings like it was just this morning when she said it. She always mentioned this, not always, but sometimes mentioned this eloquent imperative phrase. She would utter this eloquent imperative phrase, shut up. And it was typically followed by, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, or shut up, I'll give you something to cry about. It was, now the essence of that is, how I take that on a daily basis is, you can't serve well if you don't listen well. And I really appreciate that. But you can't serve well unless you listen well. And most of the time when people come in to see me, it's not that they're asking me for an answer. They just want me to listen. It's cathartic for the listener and the person because I don't have to give them the answer. And I get so many notes after people come in to say, thank you just for listening. Now, all of those things, those cores by my parents were leading me in one direction. Again, this is personal. It's not generalizable, but both were leading me to one direction. And that's a direction, my mother would sometimes walk us from Knox Street to Bethel Missionary Church for church. And my dad on the other, when he was dying of cancer and I would sit with him periodically, I would have to rub this yellow stuff. I don't know what it was. Came in a glass bottle. But anyway, when you apply it, he felt better when he did it. And once when I was applying to him, he said, have mercy. I was like, what's he talking about? And then he said, Lord, have mercy. And what both were directing me to is something that says I don't have to be perfect, because if you're looking for perfection from me, you're not going to get it. But also the foundation of something higher than me. That foundation was based upon love. God so loved the world. And then the other part was, in essence, if you're going to serve well, you really got to care about the people you're serving. And from that perspective, I go back to, we're implored, we're commanded to love our neighbors as ourselves. It not simply just makes the command, he empowers us to do it. And, when you're serving, sometimes I know when I am, it seems like I will always hit, in essence, that I'm not certain. I'm all over the place. And my parents would always direct me to what was needed was a firm, a sure foundation. So that means that we all encounter the same stuff. So when the rains fell and the floods came and the winds beat down on that house, it did not fall because it was founded on a rock. So that firm foundation, when you're serving, you have to have a firm foundation. And then the other part, it is a part of what the direction my mother and father were leading me is, you always appear to hit something that is larger than life, larger than you can handle. That's beyond your capabilities or resources. I know I do on a daily basis. Not on a daily basis, that's not true. On a basis I do, frequently. And I'm always reminded that I need this, but I don't need it in a large portion. I just need a robust amount of it. Then I'm reminded of, truly I say to you, if you have the faith of the size of a mustard seed, you can say to that mountain, and and still from time to time, I find myself being, I get into my own head too often. Oh, I don't know, I can't do this. It's too much. Then I come back to that whole essence of it. But he said unto me, now if he said it, it's a guarantee. But he said unto me, my grace is sufficient. And at other times, I get in a lane where, when you're serving others, and it can be so overwhelming at times because everything comes in waves. And I'm so thankful that the word connects anything and everything, but it intervenes it with one of the most disruptive coordinating conjunctions out there, but. Do not be anxious for anything, but in everything, through prayer. So in all that, again, is leading to what I believe, again, this is personal, that everything leads toward trust in who you're trusting in. I like the modern day psalmist that said, I trust in the Lord, my Savior, who will never fail. Then it goes a little further and says, I sought the Lord, and he heard, and he answered. That's why I trust him. And I just know others in the audience can make that same declaration, that you sought the Lord, he heard, and he answered. Thank you so much.
I don't know about you all, but I think I've got some good leadership qualities tonight. Dr. Elder, we thank you for those words. We thank you for inspiring true leaders, and we also thank you for giving us inspiration on what it means to be a servant leader. On behalf of from the board, we would just like to offer you a token of our appreciation. Thank you for coming, and we enjoyed every word of it.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy yourself? Yeah. You're talking about some good trouble, right? Wonderful. I was sitting here thinking to myself, we heard Sheila in the chorus, we heard from Dr. Elder, pass the collection plate, and we can get out of here. Absolutely, we can tell you were raised in the church. Thank you so much. Did you notice that he didn't have not one sheet of paper? He was genuine, was he not? Genuine. Absolutely. A true speaker. I love it. Came from the heart. Listen to every single word, and I'm going to ask you to give me some of that so I can borrow some of what you had to say. Thank you again for coming.